For day Guam and beyond, welcome to another episode of New Gen Peak Performance. Today we're doing a more of a podcast format, and just to remind you, today's channel is really about mind, body, and relationships. And today I wanted to delve more into the relationship part of it, relationship with father, relationship with staff at the workplace, and I have here guests here with me, Francis Villaverde and Rudy Villaverde. And maybe start off with just introducing yourself. First is kind of who you are and, I guess job title or your interests and a little bit about who Rudy and Francis is.
Half a day, everyone. My name is Francis Villaverde. I am a senior programmer analyst at the University of Guam. I've been employed at the university for 39 years. I'm a mother of 3 children. I have 3 grandchildren. And I just like working out and doing my best at my job.
All right. And then Mr. Rudy.
Hi, my name is Rudy or Rudolph Villaverde. I retired from the university after working for 34 years and currently performing work as a contractor consultant. And I've accumulated experience in this field of work since I think starting at 1974 as a student.
Okay. So, I think the main purpose of today's episode was, it's my dad's 76th birthday coming up just in the next 2 days. And I just wanted, this is actually our first kind of podcast episode. And I just wanted to, I guess, give him a gift and do this episode in honor of him, and also celebrate the team that's helped him throughout the years. And, it's just the unfortunate reality that also hits, he's 76 already, and I don't know if I have another year. I don't know if I have another 5 to 10 years with my father. But I thought it'd be nice to really have something recorded where I can reflect back and kind of remember him by and really get to know him, because all my memories when he would, I think on the summers, he would just drop me off at EOG. I would just hang out in his office and just find ways to entertain myself, or I'd just hang out at the EOG library and just, I don't know, figure out, just read books, or I don't know, just walk around the library and entertain myself. So, but I never really understood, what was going on behind the scenes at the computer center. So today I'd like to know what has happened or transpired over the last 23 years with him. And also his grandchildren, or my children, they just know him as grandpa, that one that kind of teaches a little bit of tennis and, gives them gifts and spoils them. But he doesn't know my dad as someone in contributing in the work side at EOG. So I wanted my children to be able to see this episode and see who he really was. So kind of segue into that. What was really, my father, or he's also what you call him, Dr. N. What was his vision, or what were your visions, and maybe what are some of the milestones that's happened through the computer center at EOG?
The University of Guam had contributed much to the island. It's not just on the academic level. On our side, and we can only speak for ourselves, is the technological contributions that the team with Dr. Nugent's senior leadership had provided. You asked about milestones. One of the milestones that we had accomplished was actually building a brand new computer center building and designing it to be resilient and fault tolerant so that during the worst of typhoons, even the governor had moved his office into the building. We have created the .gu domain, which is why Guam now has the moniker to be called GU. And most of the trademarks incorporate the GU name, and that was due to the foresight of also Dr. Nguyen. The University of Guam is called UOG. However, our domain name out on the internet, we are known as uog.edu. Many people have asked, how come a small university, a small school out in the middle of an island in the Pacific had managed to grab that name designation when there is the University of Georgia, George Mason University, George Washington University in DC, and other UOGs in Canada and in Great Britain. But this small island had acquired the uog.edu name out on the internet. Well, the reason is because before even the internet existed, the internet itself was created by universities under DARPA. It takes situational awareness of what was going on during that time. And Dr. Nguyen was aware that there's this thing called the internet, which which could take the whole world in terms of communications. So we partnered up with the University of Hawaii and established our presence out on the internet. And because we were one of the first pioneers, we had nabbed the name uog.edu on our the designation for our name out on the internet. Dr. Nguyen, now this didn't happen easily because Dr. Nguyen is also known as the founder of a Pacific Rim coalition of universities around the Pacific. And this organization gave him the recognition to establish the University of Guam, UOG, as to have its place out on the internet before other universities joined in.
Yeah, so I mean, I think a lot of the kids these days, you know, they weren't. I think I was maybe 10 or 15 years old when the internet happened, right? Or I guess came to Guam or be accessible to Guam. So how is like UOG involved in the infrastructure where all the other small businesses were able to use the internet? Was there any connection between, you know, the government or local businesses and that connection to the world through the internet?
The internet was in its infancy during that time. We were introspective in looking into what we can do to operate, but then something had happened to Guam. You know, in around 1993, the first thing was that Typhoon Omar came, and then an 8.2 earthquake happened, and literally destroyed the communication backbone of the government of Guam. Right prior to that, because we had the UOG domain space out on the internet, Internet had called us up asking if we would manage a top level domain name called that we can call. They said that, however, it's not going to be given to you. You have to prove that you have the technological wherewithal to bring to birth this country domain. Internet was run by the Department of Commerce, and they were working with the United Nations to establish abbreviations for all the countries around the world.
Yeah.
And GU was taken by Guyana. But however, after a year, Guyana did not create the servers needed to give birth to a .gu out on the internet. So I was searching for a name, and I found that almost all of the two-letter naming abbreviations were taken. But since Guyana had opened up, we decided to grab it. And the thing of the earthquake was that after it destroyed the government of Guam's network, many people stepped in. People like Ben Camacho, Vince Munoz, Tommy Okada, and Greg Okada, Mr. Torres from the DOA, Department of Administration. They decided that this was the time where all the agencies can connect together and build a network that would be like a monolithic nursery where people can join in and then develop their own networks out on the internet. Dr. Nguyen, Dr. Nguyen Sr. was really in a bind at that time, because the president of UOG realized that the university was the only entity that had internet, so he gave Dr. Nguyen a directive to push the internet into the government of Guam, but with the stipulation that there would be no funding. He would not have any way to finance it. What that meant is that the Dr. Nguyen and his staff would have to make personal relationships with other computer centers and provide them a vision to join this thing called the internet. Advisors had stated that it would take $1 million for this network to come up, and we didn't have any money to do it. But with the earthquake, grant writing started happening on the part of Ben Camacho and Tommy Okada and Greg Okada and their team, that the federal government actually stepped in and provided the monies after seeing our plans in connecting all 47 agencies. And eventually it also included the schools, all the court, all the fire stations, even the Catholic schools. It was one gigantic ultimate network that connected almost everybody out to the internet using the university as the gateway. Wow. This was, and including the name GU was, I think, one of Dr. Nguyen's greatest contribution to the island.
Wow. Okay, so I didn't really know that. So you're saying that a lot of the network throughout Guam, and especially throughout all the agencies in Guam, or the government of Guam was started from you guys to make that happen, and you did this all under the pretense of no funding that wasn't in the budget. So you had to find creative ways to come up with the money or make alliances with other people to piggyback on some of their networks or whatever resources, right?
These guys in government are visionaries themselves. You know, I really had to thank Mr. Benigno Camacho. He was the mover. He started working with Guam Telephone, which was a government agency at that time before it separated, it became autonomous and became its own private business. But the vision that many people inside the government shared with Dr. Nguyen, but Dr. Nguyen was the catalyst. And they provided the funding to do this, to reconstruct the government of Guam's network, but at the same time connect people out to the world and give them an identity with which people can connect to. And for a while, while we were connecting the agencies, we didn't think that it was possible. We connected down all 47 agencies, but we still didn't know how are we going to transfer all of this traffic out to that single gateway. We didn't know how to do it. But then a telecommunications company, right? We are at that time a customer Sprint, whose I think manager. They had a management team. His name, yeah, they had a management team, Ernest Villaverde and Roland Certeza. But at that time, yeah, he was the purveyor of the connection outside of the island. Other than him, there was a company that was starting up, a man named Ben Mesa, who came to us and asked us, how could it be done? We told him we don't know. We had the routers to connect everybody, but we still didn't know how to do it. So he said, I'm consulting for this small company called IT&E. Maybe I can bring in someone from the States. So what had happened is that he brought someone in the States to give birth to this network called IT&E. And in his spare time, I had asked him, how are we able to do what we're planning to do? So he said the easiest way is to turn up several servers as proxies and then proxy everyone out through these servers. We did that, and then that's how the internet came in. We had a demilitarized zone of web servers and mail servers and DNS servers out on the edge boundary. And after the 8-month requirement, Internet gave us a test, and then they saw that we did it. So then they gave Guam the .gu moniker.
So we could have lost at the Guyana, but we got it, so that's awesome. Francis, is there any other milestones or kind of things that resonated with you? I mean, you still work for EOG, but during my father's tenure there, over the 20, 30 years, was there any other milestones you wanted to include?
Yes, we were processing the Guam election voter registration database.
Yeah.
And that was the initial system that was created in-house. It kept the government voter processing at a neutral site.
Yeah.
And we've always kept confidentiality to its credibility. So everything that we did with the Guam election database was secured, and we safeguarded voter profiles securely. The other agency that our services helped out government-wide included the Department of Labor Employment Services, the census. We've did that custom application that tracked employment survey profiles. And again, this is giving back to the community.
Okay.
Yeah, so those are some of the community-based projects that was instilled under the leadership of Dr. N. Sr. Campus-wide, with initially when I first started there, we had custom applications, programs coded in IBM, CICS, COBOL languages, and everything was all hard-coded. We had punch cards, we have reams of paper, and so we wanted to do advancements in our business operations. And we've, through the help with our controller back then, Mark Heath, we went out and it was selected an ERP, Enterprise Resource MIS application, and that helped us automate the business operations on campus. We have a bunch of programs running the operations of admissions and records, programs helping the accountants create and journalize business transactions.
Yeah.
We have programs running with our payroll and personnel staffers, keeping track of employment data, keeping track of payroll data, and all of this type of data processing are all integrated.
Okay. Did you guys code that or use?
No, it's a CAN package.
Okay.
But it's all higher ed
Mm-hmm.
specific type applications.
Mm-hmm.
So all of this we've migrated and implemented under Dr. Nugent's leadership.
Okay. And yeah, can you tell me a little bit more when we say leadership? I'm sure he had some quirks, and I've heard stories of like ways he built culture to a certain degree where there's days, certain days of the month, you guys had to wear a suit or tie just to have that professional, look. Was that true or?
Back then, I believe was it a Wednesday?
It was to reflect our professionalism,
Yeah.
but that was only in the early days. Your Dr. Nugent Sr. is an emotionally intelligent, right? He has emotional intelligence. He can understand people. He can read. He would try not to overload you, but still understand that as a human being, right, you have the potential to contribute a lot, but he will not stifle you. He is a strategic manager. He has the vision. He would plan and obtain the materials that you would need to meet the end of the mission. But he is not authoritarian. He gives you a chance to voice why something will not work, and he uses it as part of his decision making. Everyone has a voice. No one has been burnt out, although we put in a lot of work. But especially during times when we were attacked, the network was attacked, but we still, many people still remain with the university because of his management style. He's not only a strategic manager, and that's a real name for it, but his management includes decisions where the impact to people actually comes first, regardless of the technology, how it impacts the people, how will his employees be burnt out. Okay. He balances everything. He looks forward to the future. He tells people what the vision is, what the mission would be. And he really evolved to that level of management style. And shout out also to the current, to the staff of the university, Joe Perez, AJ Tiong, Sean Manibusan, Katrina Polino, and many others who I haven't mentioned, John Catano. But in the early days, you had to concentrate on writing programs and modules to make things work.
Mm-hmm.
You can't buy these things. So Dr. Nugent learned to leave people alone,
Empowered.
right? Yeah, you're empowered on finding your way, how to solve the problem, to use the languages that you know, and some of the languages that I've seen, especially in the former employees like Ben Camacho and Steve Taitano and Antonia Guerrero. Some of these languages that I've seen, how they write it, were so elegant.
Mm-hmm.
They were written for mainframes, and we used mainframes, which is one of the reasons why we were never broken into by hackers, because they don't really know how mainframes work. But his style was to protect you, to shield you from politics,
Mm-hmm.
so that you can concentrate on how you're going to write these system of programs to make the course and the registration work inside the university.
Anything else?
I'd like to-
Yeah.
I'd like to add Angelo
Yeah.
Oh
to
yeah,
the
I'm sorry.
acknowledgement team.
Thank you. Angelo
Diamore.
Diamore, in the 40 years of Dr. Nugent's tenure with the university, I think since 1979 was when he came in, we had never experienced an intrusion that would hit the internal part of the network.
Mhm.
Even if we were connected to government of Guam, no one has actually made it into the network.
Wow. Yeah. Was there anything else, I guess, leadership-wise, or what my father was like?
Let me share with you this one example. We were frozen as initially Rudy and I, when we first started back in 83, 84, 1980. He came in January, I came in September. And initially we were classified employees. And because of the unattractive salary scales of our pay scales back then, it was very low.
Yeah.
There was high attrition, a lot of people leaving.
Yeah.
And so to resolve that, the internal management, the president back then, along with your father, realized the issue. And to address that, we needed the university to develop a more attractive and appealing pay scale.
Right.
So in order to convert to a higher pay scale, we had to declassify or terminate out of the classified employment status and go unclassified with a structured pay scale approved by the board.
Mm-hmm.
So the employees back then at the computer center had to sign off that we terminated as a classified staffer and that we are now under the non-classified employment status, which allowed us to get a more higher pay. And that was only, the pay structure was, each pay grade had 10 steps. And every year you would get each incremental salary if you pass a satisfactory evaluation.
Right.
And so some of us being there for many, many years, over 20 some years, we exceeded the step 10.
Yeah.
And so when we reached the max, the next year, we couldn't get a
Another
salary increment.
Yeah.
And so for many years, I would think 10 of us, plus 10 to 12 employees, were frozen for many years. And because of the staffer being frozen, your dad had elected to not receive his increment that he could have gotten had he gone through the evaluation process with the president or senior vice president back then, but he chose not to. He chose not to get any salary increments until we resolved the staff's issue with getting an extended pay scale. And eventually, over time, through efforts of collaboration with the Human Resources Office, we were able to present a recommendation to the board, and the board did, in fact, approve that many years ago. And when the staff received the increments again, that's when your dad said, yes, okay, I can, go through my evaluation now that my staff has received their incremental pay scales being extended. So that's an example of how caring and sincere and supportive your dad is with the staff. He took it to that level of dedication and support. And we've all, it means so much for us that he walked the talk and he showed us that, hey, if you're not getting a pay increment, then I'm not. I really don't want mine. Until we all get ours, then I will go through my evaluation.
And that was almost a how many year process? 5 to 10 years? Or 5 until you got your increment?
Gosh, yeah, something like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I
we
kind
were
of heard
frozen
about that. Yeah.
for many, many years.
And I was like, Dad, maybe you should have took the money and then just give it back to your staff. But at the same time, that's probably not, my dad's increment is probably not enough to pay for the whole staff's worth, right?
Right.
So, yeah. So that's, I guess, pretty principled thing that I admire about my dad too. And yeah, I don't know if I could be that principled either. Yeah. Are there any other interesting stories or hardships you guys went through those years that you had to overcome besides all the natural disasters that?
I'll make this quick. There was a cyber war about 20 years ago, when the United States and China fought each other out on the internet. Okay. The outcome of that was that there were like $250,000 worth of equipment destroyed on the edges of our network, but they never got in. Mm-hmm. It's right at the edge. Okay. And at that time, I told Dr. Nguyen, we have to stop being a big target. So we conferred with the government of Guam that although we resolved this denial of access attacks and the cyber war was over after 6 months, we told them that the government needed to have its own identity. So what happened was with acting Governor Moylan and with Joy Mandabusan and Ben Camacho, we created the Guam.gov, which the government of Guam is using as their internet name right now. Mm-hmm. And it's Dr. Nguyen was behind the scenes providing movement on that. And at that time, before that, the university really had the worst pay scale in the entire government. Mm. Right? We were doing things. We were innovating things at that time, people were coming to me and asking me, why aren't you not moving to another agency? And you know that there's this private company that's trying to recruit you and get away from your $16,000 a year salary. I said, I don't think it would be worth it, because the leadership that I'm working under, okay, understands us, and we can't put a price, despite we are the lowest paid salaried employees in the government. I think we can accomplish something for this island, because we have the right leader to do that.
So sometimes I want to take some of these lessons, in myself, and, currently I run a physical therapy clinic. I'm a physician as well. And yeah, even in private practice, it's sometimes hard. I always want to give my staff a salary increase, but we always have to balance the overhead costs because it's massively high. So, what would your advice or reflection of what has worked with my father? How do I incentivize, or how do I keep them on as employees to be patient and to stick, with the company? What was effective for you, really?
We were in a unique position, okay, during that time, because we have this indication that we could make our own mark in history, but at the same time not being known, or be like anonymous, and not have anyone know what the computer professionals inside the government were doing. If you're strapped for funding, you have to compensate with other intangibles that may make up for it. Like if a person has death in the family, you use your staff to support that person and boost that person up. Okay? If there's an opportunity for that person to learn, and you can't afford to raise the salary, maybe pay for a class and talk to him. Tell him that you understand that they have children, okay? And say that maybe we can allow your kids to come and be at your desk during working time, when they are when the school has
A holiday or they're
let them
sick.
go because
Yeah.
of some kind of emergency.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to be flexible for them so they can return, okay, that
Kind of goodwill or good faith. And,
yeah, to you.
Okay.
But if it can't be financial, then it has to be intangible.
Mm. Is there anything else you would add to that?
Yeah, showing that you care,
Mm-hmm.
show that you respect, continually to articulate that, you want open communication. Yes, Rudy said, anything, tangible that can help, giving more flexibility to employees. I think that can go a long way and can compensate for the lack of financial.
And we shouldn't forget recognition.
Mm.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Make sure that they are appreciated,
Mm-hmm.
and give them some token that they had made an accomplishment inside the department or inside the business. Yeah, that they are valued, and you will also make time to assure that they are not just a resource to be used, but that they have emotions and they have situations in life that they have to address, and the company would accommodate.
What are your memories of kind of looking from that side? I guess, what are your memories of my father and I, or the stories, or the actual when I was there? Do you remember anything when I was at UOG hanging out, or were any of the things between my father and I?
You know, one thing I do remember is
Yeah.
I invited your father
Mm-hmm.
to a family party at my house. Must have been my sister's house.
Yeah.
Perhaps maybe it was a christening party or something. And your father came and he brought your mother and yourself, and you were just, I believe, maybe 4 or 5 years old.
Okay. Yeah, I definitely don't remember that.
Yes, I remember that.
Okay.
One thing that associated both you and your dad together with me is that you both, all of you came to my sister's house at a party, and you were just a young little boy, 4 or 5 years old, cute.
You were in the shadows. We didn't really notice you a lot,
Yeah, we
but we
didn't.
knew you were there. We knew that you were in the office. We knew that as a growing boy, you were in good hands, because we knew what Dr. Nugent was like. Dr. Nugent is a people's person. Even his adversaries, he would open the door and talk to them. We saw you sometimes, but we were keeping up with your years in school, because Dr. Nugent would be telling us what you were doing.
Mm.
He tells us your activities. He was sharing us his family life. He's sharing us what his kids were doing. Despite you not meeting us, we knew what was happening personally in the lives of your family. Dr. Nugent had touched us in many ways, professionally, personally, and he also gave us a template, and it gave me a template on how to raise my kids. With my kids, I have never spanked my kids, never talked loud to them, right? But they grew up fine.
Wow.
And I knew it couldn't be done. It could be done because I've seen it.
Hmm.
And
I guess you're a more effective father. I got a lot of spankings. They listen to you more. Okay. So, did you know much about my father's other jobs? Like, because I just can't believe, I try to model my father and think about it, but like, I don't know how he did it, because he worked for UOG full time, and then he was also working for KBK or some other jobs for supplemental income. And he'd show up to my to all my tennis matches too. So like did he show up tired to work, or like did you know about his hours?
he did also work for Department of Labor.
Oh,
And develop
okay.
their
I didn't know about that.
and develop their Unix.
Mm-hmm.
It's a Unix system, a database. He worked with the customs.
Customs, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, customs, and also their database there also. Yeah, he on his free time he had given of himself to other agencies.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
I think he used to work for UIU,
Yeah.
doing some custom work there.
Yeah, I remember that too. He'd take me there. All I remember was just loading up on chocolate Swiss, drinks. That's about it. But I remember that building too.
But prior to that, I think he worked at Department of the Police Department.
Yeah, I think he told me a story once where the police department confiscated a huge amount of cannabis, and they knew that we had the best security, so the police director stored some of the evidence of the cannabis in our security. Was it one of the offices? So that's what I heard. I don't know. Maybe we shouldn't have said that. But I think that's what I heard. Or he helped secure the to make sure all the evidence in the cannabis was stored securely. But that's what I remember him telling about the police department.
You probably may have heard that there were these plants on people's work desk, right? They thought it was just part of the office,
Yeah.
but they didn't know that
It
it
was,
was cannabis.
He was a professor at GCC, wasn't he?
I didn't know about that.
Yes.
He was that too? Okay.
Yes, he was my professor.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay.
I think the class was database.
Mm.
Yeah, it's a database class.
Was that more earlier on? Or even,
Early.
Okay.
78.
okay.
Yeah,
Oh, wow.
even before I started.
He initiated his relationship with Dr. John Solis, the former president of UOG, but at that time he was the like the chancellor of GCC.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's when they developed their relationship, and when he became president, Dr. John Solis then gave him the marching order,
Mhm.
right? Not to leave, but the direction to start the networking of the government without any cost. As a sideline, there was a moment when there were consultants inside the government when they had stated how much it would cost, and then the government responded, but it didn't cost us anything. You know, you said that it would cost us $1 million, but it's running now, and we didn't spend any money for it. You know, visionaries, they elicit also other visionaries. You know, they spawn off other visionaries also. And when I stated that Dr. Nguyen was a catalyst, he propagated, you know, how we can divine the future and see how things could be. And even though many of us are no longer part of the government, still the work that had been done by the first and second generations of employees still have not been known, except that when Dr. Salas became a senator, that's when he gave us what is it, a resolution recognizing
Yes.
recognizing what the computer center
Accomplishments.
had done for the people of Guam. And without that, no one would have known what had happened. And with Guam now being known as GU, especially as a state, not just as actually it started out as a nation moniker of GU, then it became a state moniker next to your zip code when you write down your return address. Without your dad, that would not have been completed or even started. So thank you for having your dad to be with us.
Well, I mean, I know we're talking about, honoring my father, but I'm sure none of this could have happened, without your support. And I thank you for sticking by him despite, the hardships and sometimes working out pay scales and things like that. So I think he's very happy that you guys were part of the team and helped him out. So I thank you guys. And I think all the younger generations should thank you guys, because you guys are like the godfathers or godmothers of the internet here. So you guys helped set the you helped set the infrastructure up for us to go on Instagram and Facebook, right? So I thank you guys for making this island great. And
Our pleasure.
yeah, and this is just great experience that I got to know a little bit about my dad, and I'm sure my grandchildren or my children, his grandchildren, will be able to watch this someday and reflect on this. So thank you for being a guest and give us a little bit of wise words and telling me a little bit about my father. So thank you.
It's our honor to honor your father.